In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 49 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Boulder in Colorado talking with TJ McIntyre. TJ is the CEO of Bobo. Bobo's baked goods are a delicious and wholesome snack you can enjoy at home or on the go. Check out all of the available products and flavors the whole family will enjoy at eatbobos.com. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you enjoy.
So TJ, can I call you TJ?
You sure can.
Thanks for being a part of the Swell Pod. This road trip that we're partnered with Kiln on, 100 interviews. So you are one of the 100.
Wow.
And our team down here, Nina and the group said, we got to interview TJ. So we'd love you to introduce yourself, what you do, what you're passionate about, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I'm the CEO of Bobos. Bobos is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. I've been the CEO for 8 years now. And I've spent my entire career here in Boulder, Colorado in the natural foods industry.
Fantastic. And tell us a little bit more about
What is Bobos?
Yeah, what is Bobos and what people think of it here? And is it out, where it is?
Yeah, Bobos will do $100 million in revenue this year. And it started off as a way for a single mom to feed a couple of daughters in this town. Beryl Stafford started the business back in 2003. She made some Gooey oat treats, took them to a couple of cafes in Boulder, and I think she sold about $17 worth of product to Brewing Market. That was the first cafe next to McGuckin's here in town.
Yeah.
And Artin Yarpujan, the owner of the cafe, called her like 4 days later and said, I sold all the baked goods. I'd like to order some more. And Beryl had to say, what was the baked good that I sold to you? This business was launched with that degree of casualness. And from back then to now, there's been a lot that's transpired, but we sell the same product.
Wow. And when was that? When was that very first story?
In May of 2003, Beryl sold her first pan of oat bars, and oat bars has been the wave that we've ridden all of these years. We bake a very simple product. We bake the only type of bar that you can actually make in your own house. In the UK, it's referred to as a flapjack.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a common household item, as common as a chocolate chip cookie is in the States. Yeah. We just do a very good job of making them. And, we make hundreds of millions a year now.
Wow. And which countries does it now get shipped to?
We're really a North American based business with Costco in Canada really being the only meaningful revenue that we conduct outside of the United States. But here we're in all channels of trade.
Wow.
And there's still an enormous amount of white space for us because we compete with billion-dollar brands, billion-dollar awesome brands like Cliff Bar, Kind Bar, which were both inspirations for businesses like Bobos to be born and people like me to come into the food space in the first place.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into this business right now. But how did they find you? What's your past from childhood up to being the CEO of such a strong food brand?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was fortunate to relocate to Colorado from the Midwest after college. I was a deadhead. I loved to ski. I wanted a lifestyle first and career second. And like many people that live in the West, that live in Colorado, I had a lot of progressive ideology in my head. And I was I became a reluctant capitalist in my 20s, realizing that I really thought like a business person. But what the hell was I going to fight against if I was going to join the system, right? And so there were companies that were selling food products and other products in natural food stores. I had been, I was a vegetarian at the time. I was a member of, food co-ops all through college. And then when I moved out here, and I looked at companies like Ben and Jerry's as really raising the bar for how capitalism could contribute to, the economy and the globe in a very positive way. And the food was great. The brands were cool, looked like they were having a lot of fun. And I began working for natural food manufacturers before I was even done with undergrad when I first came out here. And I've had the good fortune of working for a lot of different companies in the same zip code, because Boulder, Colorado has, very legitimate credentials of birthing the natural foods industry. Of course, there's a lot of pockets of great companies that were, founders of the natural foods movement, but there was no place like Boulder up until maybe 5-10 years ago that had the concentration of companies like this small town has had over the years.
Interesting.
So what was the moment? So it was 8 years ago that you came into this company. Just tell me about that moment and what that was like.
On my path, I've worked for 5 or 6 companies before Bobos, and some of them I started myself. Some of them were publicly traded companies. Some of them struggled. Some of them soared. And my 6 years before joining Bobos, I was with Boulder Brands, and I was running the natural segment of the business. We were public. The brands that I was in charge of included Udi's and Glutino and Earth Balance and Evol burritos. And I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of growth. We got up to almost $500 million in revenue with the natural brands by the time I left. So it was big business for this space. I didn't like a couple of things about it. I didn't like working inside a public company because we were absolutely making short-term decisions. Right? We were under quarterly pressure. That's very real. It drives all of your motivation, all of your decisions. And so there was not anything sustainable that we were creating because we were under this primarily margin and growth pressure. And those are appropriate pressures for business, but they can't tip the scale like they do at a publicly traded company for that business to be around in the long term. The second thing that I didn't want to be a part of any longer was trend-laden co-manufactured products. If you go walk a Whole Foods like the great one that we have here in Boulder, it's a big store. There's a lot of SKUs in there. The majority of the products that are sold in the center of the store are co-manufactured. And what I mean by that is that the owners of the brand are not making the food themselves. When that happens, it's inferior from a P&L perspective because you're going to give away 10 to 15 points of margin. You're going to have to raise a lot less money. It's a lot less capital intensive, but it's a lower margin product. But more importantly than that, it lacks love. It lacks attention. It lacks detail. Bobos, when I joined Beryl at the end of 2015, Beryl Stafford, the founder, I was a consumer of the product. I thought it was absolutely delicious. And it's because it was self-manufactured that I could see that we could create something that was going to be multi-generational, that was going to be built not on trend. Oats are the oldest superfood, and people have said over the last few years that oats are trendy now. Oats have been around as long as we've cultivated the earth for grain, right? And so it was on the core merits of the product itself, a delicious baked good. And that's what's carrying us to victory right now is the product itself. We all walk around in this company with oats on the bottom of our shoes. We're very close to the product itself. Co-manufactured businesses are very distant from it. You'll find brand managers, general managers, CEOs that have never stepped foot into the actual manufacturing facility of the product. So all they're thinking about is syndicated data. What's my market share? What's my velocity per point of distribution? Things like that are very important, but there's no orientation to the food, man. They don't taste one of the products that they're selling and realize there's something off. Did we change an ingredient? Was there a different harvest that, we just got in that, is baking off a little bit differently? At Bobos, we kind of live and die by the taste, the texture, the yumminess of the products that we sell.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You mentioned multi-generational. Is that really part of the vision of where you're trying to go?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have the great benefit of working for the founders of this industry, right? Like I've worked with Mark Retzloff, who's one of the founders of Horizon, and Alfalfa's Market here in town. I worked for Steve Demos, who started White Wave, which launched Silk Soy Milk. I know Mo Siegel from Celestial. Those brands are going to be around for many generations. Outside of food, there's like Dr. Bronner's, right? Like we all love that soap. That business is third or fourth generation by now in terms of its operations. It's going to continue to be that way. Bobos, we're building it to last 100 years or longer. And we didn't do paleo. We didn't do keto. Whatever's coming in January, we're not doing that either. Those are flash in the pan type of quick dietary trends, people trying to lose weight. The natural foods industry embraces those ideas quick and drops them just as fast. And there's a lot of money that's raised and lost. You see it right now with plant-based meats. There's some future for plant-based meats, but not worth billions of dollars of investment like what's taking place right now. Yeah. So we make something that is as complex as a chocolate chip cookie. It's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah. It's really interesting, especially thinking about, staying true to your roots and who you are, and being able to discern between, like you mentioned, the flash in the pan, these trends, and how enticing they could be at any given moment, especially if you're a public traded company, right? And I think that's really interesting to be able to, while still moving forward, stay true to yourself and not lose yourself. Like, I don't know. I imagine it's got to be a very difficult thing to do, but I don't know.
There is success in trend chasing. It's just, it's not a pace that I'm personally interested in. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Grateful Dead fan, hippie from, the early 90s in this industry. And I like OG products. They have to continue to evolve. They can't taste like cardboard. There were certainly a lot of, poor tasting products 20 years ago in this industry. But what we sell, again, it's delicious, and I think it's going to be around a long time. There's some other brands that that I admire. I admire Cliff Bar, right? Like they've been a champion of the environment for a very long time. They've had great integration with mountain sports from the beginning. We'll see what happens now that they're owned by Mondelez. I mean, because Mondelez is marketing Cliff Bar next to Oreos at trade shows. Like at some point, it becomes tough to really retain the soul of the business. And we'll sell our business too. Like we have investors. Everybody that works at Bobos is an owner of the business. And that's not because they're going to work here the rest of their lives. That's because they recognize that we've raised outside capital, and it has to be returned. And the way that gets returned is with some kind of a transaction in the future. But we're setting this up in such a way that whoever becomes lucky enough to own this business in the future is going to have to recognize the core strengths that we have, and they're going to have to lean into those and not strip those away. Yeah. Product quality being the first.
100%. Yeah.
That's really, it's a great approach. We could have had a long conversation about, how did you get to everyone owns the business, right? And what the benefits are of that, and what energy and love they put into it, and motivations to do that. But I think we should ask about the challenges you're facing right now in the business. What are they?
Capacity has been a very big challenge because we self-manufacture. Our business struggles to keep up with a pace above a certain level. This year, 2023, will grow 45% top line. We out-of-stocked $8 million in revenue January through about August 15th. That puts so much pressure on us internally. Yeah. It stresses everybody out when you're on what's called allocation, meaning, in a given month, let's say you're going to get $10 million worth of orders, but you can only manufacture 8. Who are you going to cut? Everybody's mad at you. And by the way, we're, beating plan. We should be high-fiving and feeling victorious, but instead, it's a lot of work just to, meet the current demand. So we've had to spend a lot of time in operations. We have all along in my 8 years here, but in this last year, it has taken up all the oxygen in the room. And so we've learned some lessons. We've built up a lot more talent internally. We need operations leaders through all sub-functions inside operations that have been at companies a lot bigger than Bobos so that they can understand the challenge that we have now, but then help us work towards a future. I mean, we could do, we'll grow over 50% for the next couple of years without any innovation in this company. And so that just means that we need to make a hell of a lot more bars. So we're running 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. We have, I was just at the plant in Loveland today. Last night we had 4 or 5 shipments of new equipment come in that had passed factory acceptance tests, and we're trying to figure out not how to overly automate. We're really protective of the love and care that goes into the products that we make. We're not making widgets here. Yeah. Like, we're making something that is made the same way as it was in Beryl's Kitchen back in 2003. We're just figuring out how to scale that significantly, and that's really painful and really defensible, right? Because if you're going to attack us, we've met with a lot of co-manufacturing facilities to try to find additional capacity. And every single one of them says, we would love to make products for you. We'll make 10 million pieces a month for you, but we're not going to do it like you do it. We're going to run it through this tunnel oven. We're going to sheet it. We're going to guillotine it. And we're like, you're not going to make Bobos, because that's not what makes our product special. So we got to figure out in this painstaking manner how to scale and, engineer, the equipment to our needs so that we can increase our throughput while retaining what's special about us.
That's pretty impressive. I've got one last question, but do you want to? Well, just in the actually a couple of quick ones. Do you know any products in Utah or any food products?
Yeah, a couple.
Like people that know, Built Bar.
Pro Bar.
Built Bar.
Built Bar.
Yeah, it's a new one.
Yeah. How about Crumble?
The cookie company?
Yeah.
The cookies. There's a big cookie war going on in Utah, right? The last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Almost made a documentary about it.
Yeah.
About the delivered fresh cookies. I have 2 girls in high school, so
exactly. Delivered fresh, basically, it's a really great app experience too.
Yeah,
but Crumble, Dirty Dough.
There's another one. There's another one that's even bigger.
Crave, I think, is another one.
Yeah, they're huge. You never tasted them?
Yeah. I have high school daughters.
Any good?
They're pretty good. And they're relatively creative, in my opinion. They're overly reliant on sugar.
Yeah.
I think, but what's the palate that they're appealing to? It's, it's high school girls.
How about and then the other one is my neighbor.
Sorry.
True Fruit.
True Foods just sold.
He just sold to Mars, right?
Yes,
no.
yes.
And do you know him?
I do not.
He's great, Taz.
Yeah.
But I mean, my question would have been like, how do you keep the culture? Like, when you're very specific about your equipment and making sure the quality, but you also mentioned love. And the love for the quality, yes, but like the love for the culture. How on earth do you keep that? And I'm sure my neighbor Taz wanted to try to keep the family like all the love he poured into it, and I don't know how they're going to do that with Mars, right? But how is that what you were going to ask? How do you keep that consistent after you've sold?
I'm very impressed with the strength of vision and
conviction,
and history, and maintaining that in the brand and the conviction to continue with that.
Yeah.
We have the best team I've ever worked with, and I'm not saying that because I'm being interviewed right now. We have a relatively limited team, and we employ 300 people. But for our salaried folks, it's around 60. It's around 60 people. They're all very skilled. They have far more on their plate than they would at another company, but they get compensated for that. And that's when people really work their best. You want people, you find that, we find the best folks and give them too much to do, you know, that, and that's what keeps people kind of motivated, because it gives them a lot of autonomy and power. But we're like family internally. We use the word love all the time. It's not just in our literature. We use it. We use love language internally. Yeah. We do a lot of volunteering together. It's a very caring environment. And I have the great fortune of working with an amazing founder. As CEO stepping into a company, there's all kinds of conflict that happens there, right? Yeah. Where founder wants outside experience to come in and assist, and doesn't want to give up power, doesn't want to collaborate. That has not been our experience. We have an incredibly tight relationship as friends and as business partners. And that translates through the leadership team, through every single employee in the business. And we reiterate our core values as a company constantly internally. And it leads to, happiness, productivity, retention. People don't steal people from Bobos. And when we show up at trade shows, what is consistently played back to us is, do you guys have any room on your team? Like I look at how you guys interact, the fun that you're having, the victory that you're having in the marketplace. How can I be a part of this?
Yeah. Oh man, I want to come and work for you.
Yeah.
we also had Scott Porter on here, didn't we?
Yes.
From Cheerios.
San Diablo. It's like artisan churros, which was kind of cool.
He's a great guy.
Really cool, but
tasty.
Yeah. So is there any connection to Kiln? I'm sorry.
We've had events here. In fact, we have a mindfulness event here for our leadership team on Friday.
Oh, no, really?
So just trying to continue to grow together as a team. We're also working through Obstacles Away. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ryan Holiday's book. It's kind of steeped in stoicism and kind of overcoming obstacles and actually finding your strength in obstacles. We try to do a lot of that work together. But here at Kiln, there's a lot of natural food events that Bobos gets to be a part of, because we're a part of this amazing natural foods community in Boulder. And this is a real hub to host events for Boulder natural food scene.
I'd love your thoughts then on Kiln and kind of their role in helping pull off those events, or what that's meant to you, I guess.
It's the most inspiring workspace outside of what I've seen us create internally. Yeah. It's perfect for us to host events here because we don't have an office. After COVID, we let our lease go because it came up for a renewal. And now we're hybrid, but for our bakery, we meet at our bakery a lot, but it's in Loveland and a lot of people live in Boulder. And there's times where we need to go off site. And so this place is perfect for that.
That's awesome. Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say, once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the Kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Camper Vans, a luxury camper van rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra camper vans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables.
And enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode. We do have one last question.
Yeah.
Spencer, I'll let you ask it.
Oh, what is it? Where can we taste Bobos?
Yes. Well, I'm about to go.
I'm super hungry now. I'm gonna have to try one. I've never tried one before.
Well, all the flavors are available at eatbobos.com and on Amazon, but we're sold in natural food stores, in conventional grocery stores. We're rotating in all Costco divisions.
So we can stop by Costco.
We're even in Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart.
No.
Okay, tonight, here we come. So the actual question is advice for our listeners. What does it take to create something that never existed before? It could be a culture, a product, whatever, but ideally that would create a movement.
I think in the food business, success is most commonly achieved and with the least obstacles in food categories that are consumed on a very regular basis. Yeah. As an example, I broke my pick in the yerba mate category. I had a yerba mate company. Man, I humped that thing for 5 years. We had a lot of mojo. Yeah. We got a lot of distribution. We didn't get a lot of revenue because not that many people consume yerba mate. Guayaquil's having a lot of success, but they've been at it for almost 20 years themselves. Right. I like to compete right up the middle. If I look in my refrigerator, if I look in my pantry, what category of food is always in there and is always in rotation, right? What am I eating, ideally daily or several times a week? So I like those categories, and then make it a little bit better and make it taste awesome. No compromising allowed on that front. And I think that is a great place to start, to become victorious. Do what I love Tate's thin chocolate chip cookies. Mondelez also bought them. Yeah. They just took a chocolate chip cookie and made it thin, and they're really good. And some people don't like it because they don't want a crunchy cookie, but a lot of people eat chocolate chip cookies. So, you're casting a wide net when you play a game like that, as opposed to, to pick on something vegan jerky. I mean, come on, man, that's not going anywhere.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in 2 ways. 1, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, at the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.